Robert, I've been wanting to talk to you about a segment of the market that I find interesting, but I don't have a ton of experience with, and that is the high-end, I don't know if you say independent or you say micro brand, but you're looking at some limited edition, really interesting watches that have hit the market, one of which you've just picked up. And I want to kind of pick your brain about where you think this sits in the market, what your experience as an owner has been like, especially in conjunction with your experience with other watches in this segment, the high-end micro or independent segment. So that being said, introduce me to your latest collection pickup.
Sure. So here we have, insert good B-roll photos here, the Isotope Mercury Shadow.
Gotcha.
It's a limited run of 100 pieces.
Which is not very many.
Not very many at all. Worldwide release done by Jose over at Isotope. He's based out of England, Great Britain. I always find it weird as Americans. I feel like we never quite understand how to distinguish the two.
Sure.
But anyways, he's based in there, and this is a special watch because it's not your run-of-the-mill micro brand.
No, as I looked at that, sometimes with micros, and I want to be clear, I love many micro brands. We were just singing the praises of Tusino, Zelos, Baltic. I mean, there's a lot of great micros out there.
They're amazing.
But with many of them, you really see the design inspiration. You go, okay, yeah, that's a red sub, that's a bubble back, that's a Seamaster, that's a whatever.
Yep.
But I look at this Isotope, and there's not a watch that jumps to my mind. And I think that's hard to do, to come out with something these days that's original, and it's not just out there. It has strength to the design or the execution. So I find that appealing personally.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up kind of the uniqueness, because that was one of the things that drew me to this. Like when I saw this case and I saw this linear brush dial and the handset and all of these things.
Yeah, that handset I thought was weird until you explained, hey, once an hour it makes a laurel leaf.
Yeah, from the god Mercury.
Yeah.
So there's multiple sources of inspiration, one of which on the screen is the Mercury train.
From 1936. Art Deco, streamlined, curvaceous. It's taking inspiration from that, right?
Direct inspiration. You've got the kind of the color scheme of the train and everything into the dial. You've got the god Mercury with the laurel leaf. You've got the drop of Mercury, like the liquid Mercury is the little drop.
The logo.
It's right there on the logo.
Yeah.
So all these things come into play, but it's not loud. It doesn't scream, hey, this is called Mercury, this is the Shadow, whatever.
Yeah.
The only place you're going to see that is back on the 7001, the ETA 7001 movement, which has been decorated at a decent high level.
Right. I understand the plate is totally hand brushed.
Yep.
Blued screws.
Yep, so purling underneath there,
Right.
under the balance, all of that. Like, this is well done. And that's where you're going to see the branding.
Yeah.
Nothing on the front.
I was going to say, I actually admire when a brand is not vain enough, because I'm pretty vain. I'll go, yeah, put Bruce Williams on everything.
Right.
No, I mean, you look at that, there's no brand, there's no text, it's all about the simplicity and the expression of the design. It sounds like Isotope is confident enough that they go, hey, let's just let the design speak for itself. We don't need to use this as advertising space, listing specs and all this different stuff, logo and whatnot. They just come up with a great design and let it speak for itself.
Yeah.
And I admire that.
Now, you asked, or you had made mention earlier about some of my experience in this kind of space. I have owned a number of watches from the brands like Chrono Tokyo, Colloquium. I've done Ming, right? I've gone all up and down the scale from the $200 micro brands on up into the above. I even...
I think I know where you're going.
I was going to say, I even have experience designing, and I shouldn't say designing because I didn't design anything. I was a part of a team that helped design a watch that was entered into the GPHG, right? You could call it a really, really high level.
High horology.
High horology done by the absolute best of the best. And I mean the literal best of the best in the industry put this watch together with various parts. And I can tell you how hard it is to get to a final point with your design being simplistic in its nature and have it be a cohesive end product.
Have it have strength and appeal.
Yes.
And identity.
There are so many pitfalls along the way in the design where you want to add something, that you want to put something else on top of something else and go like, ooh, well, what if I did this? Or what if we put this over here? And it's so hard to be just a little bit kind of relaxed and go,
let the right design come out.
Let it be. Let it be.
Let it be. That's
exactly. I mean, you got brands like Moser doing it, and they're winning all these awards. They don't put their brand on all their watches, and it's a very distinctive design. This is right in line with that. Like, they're that confident.
So let me ask you this: the retail price is, I think, $2,795, and that's a significant amount of money, especially for a watch that doesn't have 100 years of history like many mainstream brands do.
Correct.
How has your experience been when you compare this to other $3,000, $2,500 priced watches that you've owned? Like, how does this legitimately stack up?
This will go toe-to-toe with anything in that price range.
Really?
Without even trying. Well, I have owned Grand Seiko, whether it be the 9F quartz that still has the high level finishing.
Sure.
This polishing is right on par with that.
Wow.
This will go toe to toe with literally anything in that. You've got Longines, you've got Tudor, some of their dress offerings like the 1928. You've got a little diamond here or there on the indices.
Or like Black Bay 36, something like that.
Yeah, like I would put this right in line with any of those. In fact, this winds as smooth as that high horology piece that I just told you I was involved with.
That's wild.
That movement in that watch costs more than this entire watch, and this winds the same.
Yeah. Well, a 7001 is not known for having like butter smooth winding, but that has butter smooth winding. Like legitimately, very satisfying.
It's smoother than Rolex.
Easily.
It's smoother than you name a whole list of brands. It was so smooth that I had to physically put it by my ear and also turn it around so that I could see the ratchet wheel engaging to go like,
is this working?
Is this actually, I was afraid initially when I got it, is it broken? Like I hadn't seen.
It's not gritty enough.
No, I hadn't seen the seconds hand start to move, and I would legitimately thought, oh crap, something happened in shipping. And when I showed you, I had you do the same, like wind it.
No, this is really nice.
When you feel it, when you see it, all the things, any part of ownership with this watch, you get a sense of what
tell it's different.
Yes, you get a sense of what it is.
So let me ask you this. Technically, Isotope would be classified as a micro brand, but is it better suited by calling this, say, an independent, like a high-end or an affordable independent? Or like, where does the line go here with this release? Because it's not as affordable as, say, a Zelos or a well-known affordable micro brand, but it's a far different watch from that class of watches. Well, where does this sit?
So that's a great point. This is kind of a unique spot because what Isotope is doing is across the board, right? They have $1,000 dive watch, just like Christopher Ward and some of these other brands.
Sure.
So it's still in that kind of upper bracket, if you will, of the micro brand, or like I guess what's becoming almost a new norm, the $1,000 watch. Right. So they have stuff in there, but all of their offerings in that bracket are still laced with uniqueness.
Well, but they wouldn't have things like a hand brushed main plate, or like this. This has that higher end feel to it, that custom type feel.
So what I was gonna say with this is, I think this is like that new market segment, like a micro independent.
I like the name of that.
Okay, so like if you think about it, you've got independents where, like we talked about with Moser and all these other things, where they're doing a lot of what Isotope is doing with
in principle.
Exactly, in principle, but just at that ultra mega next level.
You're spending tens of thousands, if not more.
Right? But then you've got the $1,000 watches. And so this kind of spans everything in between. I think it's kind of its own segment.
I think that's a good way to describe it. It's part of a new segment of the market that maybe we coined the term micro-independent.
Yeah.
Right?
I wish we were that smart. Maybe somebody,
they probably haven't.
Maybe somebody else has it out there. But there are collectors out there that have gone through and had the Seamasters and the Speedies and the Date Justs and you name it.
Oh, yeah.
And they go, how many other black divers does the watch box need?
Not anymore.
Exactly.
Give me something else.
I need something. I need a change of pace. I need some color. I need some texture. Why do you think brands like Studio Underdog are just exploding because they put
Massive
pizza on the
success.
dial?
Or a fried egg or whatever the latest thing is.
It's a Seagull movement that looks nice, that's got some finishing done to it, but it's
a cheap Seagull movement.
It's a cheap Seagull movement, and they instantly sell out and crash every website that they go
and
go
good
on.
for them.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Right? But
there's a need for it.
There's a need. There's a desire. The market is telling these companies, give us uniqueness at a decent level, and the price we'll figure out at another time.
Right.
Because you can go get that same Seagull movement in a Seagull watch for $200
or less.
Yeah. So why am I paying 4 times? Because the same argument could be said as I can go get a 7001 in something.
Give me a base 7001.
I can get something like that's in a $400 or $500 watch. Why am I spending $2,700 on that?
Right.
It's the same argument.
It kind of comes down to relativity. Like, where are you at in your watch collecting journey? Are you craving the mainstream? Do you want that brand history and identity and to be part of saying Speedy Tuesday, on Instagram? Or have you had a lot of experiences and you're looking for things that still incite the excitement within or fan the flame of your watch love? Stuff like this comes to the forefront.
Oh, yeah.
It really just depends where you're at in your journey. And I think a lot of people, they're opening up to watches like this.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
I could recommend this seriously to somebody and say, you've owned Grand Seiko, you've owned Omega and Tudor and Longines and all this.
Check this out.
Boom, check this out. I could also say to somebody, you've owned Laurier, you've owned Baltic, you've owned, Islander watch, Zelos, all of that. Well, guess what? You could jump up to something like this and not be disappointed.
That's a good point.
This will go toe to toe with anything mainstream you were thinking about jumping into for your first big major brand watch.
Right.
This could go toe to toe with anything. So I really think there is a spot in the market for these offerings. I mean, we've seen time and time again, Ming, Chrono Tokyo, those are like base movements.
Grunfeld is starting to do it
Grunfeld's
now,
got one in there. And those are using Solitas and Miyotas and all of those things.
Miyota, the Mad watch, right?
Exactly. I love me some MBNF, right? And I'm never going to be able to afford one of their horological machines.
Yeah.
But you want to give me a Mad 1? Let's go,
It's an exciting time to be a watch collector.
Right. You're getting all these aspects, these change of paces, and it doesn't take away from the 6 black dial divers that you've got in the watch box. You can still go and have your fun with those.
Exactly.
And you can still have
Don't limit yourself.
Exactly. There's nothing saying that you can only have 1 or 2 of those, and then you have to start getting into the whimsical stuff.
Right.
Mix it up. Find what catches your eye.
I agree.